Hi everyone, welcome back to TXT Tells All. Today I'm going to be talking about saving, which I think is so important during this pandemic, everything that we're going through, not just saving, but also budgeting. Of course, a lot of people are facing tough times or uncertainty with the COVID-19 pandemic going on. So I think this is the perfect time to do a video on 10 tips for saving and budgeting your money. Tip number 1, set a goal and stay committed to it. I can tell you from personal experience that when I first started saving, I really didn't set specific goals and it made it harder for me to achieve them. So once I sat down and I set very specific short-term and long-term goals as to how much money I wanted to save or the specific thing that I was saving towards within a specific period of time, I was way more successful. It's kind of like the vision board idea. If you can see it, you can believe it, you know exactly what you're doing and what you're working towards, and it's easier to achieve those goals. So tip number 1 in saving your money, make sure you set a specific short-term and long-term goal. Tip number 2. Have you ever been saving for something, but you have such easy access to the money that you keep dipping into what's supposed to be that savings fund? And of course, you promise yourself, I'm just dipping this one time, I'm going to put the money right back. But that doesn't exactly happen. Things come up, and then that savings goal gets lower and lower and lower. Has that happened to you? Because it's definitely happened to me. So tip number 2 is open a separate account that you don't have as much of easy access to. So it doesn't have to be a retirement account like an IRA or a short-term CD where you're locked in for a certain period of time, but just open up maybe an online savings account. I recommend Ally. I use it myself. You get a good return on Ally, more than you would in a savings account, let's say with Bank of America, Wells Fargo. I can tell you from experience, I had my savings account with Bank of America for a very long time, and then I opened a savings account with Ally, and I get a much better return on my money. I don't have as much of an easy access to it because it is an online account. I don't have a bank card for that account. And I opened that separate account specifically for saving towards a particular goal. So that's tip number 2. Pull the money out, put it in a separate account that you will not have as much easy access to. Now, of course, with the online account, you can request your money at any time, but not having that bank card for the account really helps you stay committed to the goal and not touch the money. So that's tip number 2. Open a separate account for the money that you're saving. Tip number 3. This may also seem like a simple one, but it definitely works. Tuck away loose change. Now, what do I mean by loose change? An example, anytime you use cash and you get a $5 bill, put it in a box. So if you pay for something with cash and you get change and a $5 bill is included in that change, that's a signal to you, this goes into my savings, I'm going to put it in a box towards my savings goal. It's a small gesture, but as you keep doing that and you are committed to doing that, you'll see how much that can add up, and you can move forward towards reaching the goal that you want at the end of the day. So tuck away loose change. $5 is my example, but you can go for 10, you can go for 20, or you can literally just go for the change and do it old school, create a piggy bank and just say, this is extra money towards my savings goal. Tip number 4, eliminate a non-essential. Now, what do I mean by non-essential? Something that you don't necessarily need to buy or do, but you enjoy doing, but you can make a short-term sacrifice for a long-term goal by not doing or buying that thing and instead putting that money towards your savings goal. For me personally, it was my nails. I like to get my nails done. And when I was working on my first serious savings goal, I eliminated that non-essential in order to put that money towards my savings goal and just be serious and committed to my savings goal. I identify that as one non-essential, something I didn't need, even though I like to do it, and I definitely missed it for the time period that I eliminated it out of my budget. But it was worth it because it was a short-term sacrifice for a long-term goal. So tip number 4, eliminate a non-essential. Take a look at your finances, take a look at the things that you purchase, and especially if it's something that's a reoccurring expense, eliminate that and put that money towards your savings goal. All right, y'all, I had to get in a little close for this one because I think this hits home for a lot of people, including me. Tip number 5, limit eating out. I can tell you in my budget, eating out is a huge expenditure, and I'm not saying cut it out, because a nice brunch, a nice dinner is as important to me as I'm sure it's important to a lot of you, but limiting it to where you can look at how much you're actually spending per month on eating out and limit that to where you can put more of that money towards your savings goal will make a big difference. Trust me, when I looked at my finances and I saw how much I was spending on eating out, I thought for sure I was seeing the wrong numbers, but in evaluating that, I was more conscious of it, and we just limited our eating out and we're able to put a lot more money towards our savings goal. Tip number 6, plan your gift giving. What do I mean by that? I'm sure you have loved ones that every year when birthdays and anniversaries and Mother's Day and Father's Day and all these holidays roll around, you want to show appreciation and love towards buying gifts. I do it. Most of us do it in some form or fashion, but that can add up. I know I was thinking to myself the other day, I have lots of nieces and nephews, love them all dearly, and I have new ones being born. Seems like almost every year, but as I plan to give gifts, it can get pretty expensive. So if you're like me, I wait till the last minute and I'm scrambling to find a gift, and sometimes it ends up being a gift card just because I don't have the time to maybe have something shipped or delivered. Although I do love Amazon for the Amazon Prime, saved me many times, but I can tell you, buying gifts at the last minute, you sometimes spend a little bit more money than you intended, and that can take away from your savings goals. So plan out your gifts. You can find great, thoughtful, less expensive gifts if you actually think about it ahead of time. Let's be real, birthdays aren't changing. You know what date your loved one's birthday is. It's the same every year. So you can actually give some thought to that and say, hey, I saw this nice gift on sale. I think this would be great for so-and-so, and save yourself some money. And when you look at how much money you spend on gifts when you're actually being intentional about it and focusing more on your savings goal than on the spending of money, you'll realize how much you can save in that category. Tip number 7 is so important. Create an actual written budget. Now, you may not want to actually write it out, as there are so many apps and Excel spreadsheets now available that you can use. I can tell you from experience that I use Excel spreadsheets, and you can literally just put in Google Excel spreadsheet savings plan or Excel spreadsheet monthly budget or weekly budget, and you will get a plethora of different options, free templates that you can use to input your own personal budget into an Excel spreadsheet and then download that and save it to your computer. But tip number 7, I think, is a such important part of saving and budgeting. Write it out. The only way that you will be able to know what your expenses are, know what money you have coming in, and know what disposable income you do have to put towards a true, realistic savings plan is if you write it out. Put it in a budget Excel spreadsheet, put it in an app, or actually sit there and write it down. Whichever way works for you, you have got to make sure you do it in order for your savings and budgeting plan to work and for you to stay committed to your goals. Tip number 7 leads me to tip number 8 about putting pen to paper, but particularly for your debt. I would be remiss without saying, if you are trying to come up with a savings plan, you have to look at your debt. And if you do have debt that you've been meaning to pay off or pay down, but you just haven't been able to do so, that goes hand in hand with savings and budget. So I think it's important to look at your debt and see what money you can put towards paying that debt down, especially if you're facing really high interest rates. So what I did when I unfortunately was in a lot of debt compared to the income that I had coming in when I first started working my full-time job as a lawyer. When I moved to Houston, I did a 6 paycheck plan. And what I did was I looked at exactly how much I would net each paycheck for 6 pay periods and how much I could put towards paying down my debt in those 6 pay periods, because I knew getting out of debt for me, credit card debt, was going to be part of my financial freedom. And I had to do that first before I could seriously consider how much I could save each month. So for me, it was a 6 paycheck plan. It may be longer for you, it may be shorter for you, but I think it's important to actually write out or use an app to create, or use an Excel spreadsheet to create how much debt you have, how much interest you're paying, and how much money that you can put towards paying down that debt to free up more money to put towards your savings goal. Now, before we get to tip number 9, if you like this video, please remember to hit the like button. Also, subscribe to this channel and hit the bell so that you know when we're posting new videos, which we do every single Sunday, on topics ranging from personal finance to business investments to real estate. So there's a lot of information on this channel. If you like what you see, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell. So tip number 9, don't buy any more clothes. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, I don't buy a lot of clothes. For me, it was clothes. But what I'm saying to you is, whatever your vice is, something that you maybe spend a little bit too much extra money on. It may be gaming systems or games, sneakers, gadgets, phone accessories, apps that people purchase on their phone. Whatever your vice is, don't buy any more of it in the time frame that you set for your savings goal. Now, I'm not talking about necessities. I'm talking about something that you just, when you're feeling stressed. For me, I go out and buy some clothes that I don't really need. So when I was in my first savings plan, that's something else that I looked at. What am I buying excess of that I don't need? And for me, it was clothes, and I eliminated it completely for the period of time that I was focused on that goal. And that's why it kind of ties into tip number 1. You need the goal so that you can stay committed to it. So tip number 9, don't buy, fill in the blank here, whatever it is that you're buying too much of, and you can instead put that money towards your savings goal. Tip number 10 is a simple one, but it's important. Take it day by day. Savings and budgeting and being committed to that game is a marathon. It's not a race. You have to constantly be thinking about your finances and have that goal in the forefront of your mind, so that every expenditure that you make each day keeps that in focus. What's my end goal? Why am I making these sacrifices? And you have to think about that each day so that you can, in the end, reach your goal and then create a new one and keep recreating the wheel. And it will become second nature to you, to where you always have a savings and budget plan in place. Thank you for hanging out with me today and listening to these 10 tips to save and budget your money. I wish you financial success. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, please hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so that you know when we post new videos at TXE Tells All, which is every single Sunday. Y'all take care.